Welcome back to the Pageant Gal podcast, where we are joined today with a very special, iconic guest who is doing something very unique and innovative in the pageant industry, which just inspired me to reach out and not only connect with her, but we have a few things coming up our sleeves for all of the Pageant Gals. We have Maggie, the owner, founder, and creator of the CrownChat app. I think it's the only pageant preparation app in the market. Maggie, you'll have to correct me for that, but Maggie has been a competitor, just overall an enthusiast of the pageant industry and wants to give back and help pageant women be able to prepare for your competitions confidently using new and creative ideas like using an app. So we're so excited. I'm going to talk a little bit about her journey. We're going to talk more about the app, which has a new launch that is just coming out for it, and go into all the things. And it's going to be a super beneficial episode. So whether you're listening to this driving or you're taking notes, listen in and buckle up, pageant gals. But Maggie, please introduce yourself. Where are you from? Give us a tried and true pageant gal. Tell me about yourself.
Yeah, of course. Well, hi everyone. So excited to be here today. I am from upstate New York, but I currently live in New York City, so enjoying the Big Apple life. I have been involved in pageantry for over a decade at this point. Time goes by so quick, but really just fell in love with the industry. And for me, pageantry is so special because it really celebrates every woman, and you are encouraged to be your own unique self. And just growing up and being a teenager and going into my teens, being surrounded in pageantry has inspired so many different passions, including building an app. I never thought I would be able to say that, but last year I launched CrownChat version 1, and I just recently launched version 2. So, really excited for everyone to get involved in that, and I'm excited to talk more about it.
Amazing. So version two is out. We're going to talk a little bit more about it, the features, what you can do on it. But I kind of want to start with your pageant journey. And I think it's so interesting because you and I chatted before, and we're both like entering our decade in the industry. And maybe, I don't know what it was about like 2016. Like people always reference 2016 as being like the it year with like the music and pop culture. And it kind of seems like that was the time that both of us got involved in pageantry. But I want to hear your story. Like, what was that moment that you decided to join? Did you know about pageants growing up, being in New York? What was your experience like and how did you actually get involved?
It's so interesting because New York is not a pageant state. You would think
Mhm.
it is, but pageantry is not very common.
Mhm.
So, first time I ever competed was back when I was 9 years old. Got a letter in the mail for National American Miss and somehow convinced my mom to let me do it. I was this shy girl living up on our small family farm, so like the opposite of what you would consider the typical pageant girl. But somehow did it, convinced my mom. Let me say it was a great learning opportunity, but only did it that 1 year. But then, fast forward about, I would say 6 or 7 years later, that I randomly one day I was like, Mom, I want to do this again. Like, I want an opportunity to go work on myself and just try something new. So we got involved in pageantry, and then from there, I was instantly hooked. I mostly have competed around like National American Miss and International United Miss, but really just fell in love with the pageantry industry as a whole, and just again that whole atmosphere of working on yourself, being surrounded by empowered women. So, competed for a few years. I was fortunate to become the International United Miss Teen back in 2020 during COVID, which was a crazy experience in itself, but one of the best years of my life. And since then, took a couple years off for college, and now diving back into the world as a competitor and now the owner of CrownChat.
I love it. And it's so true too. Like New York is a big state. I have a few clients who've come from New York and it's a big state. There's a lot of competitors, but it's not big in pageantry. It's definitely got more of like the modeling and beauty when it comes to like the runway side of things, right? Like you think about New York Fashion Week, but that's such a common thing. I actually used to work for Pageant Planet, and I found that that was a huge thing that a lot of women said how they got involved in NAM. So shout out NAM for really like going old school marketing and just like door to
It
door
worked.
like mail. I think they still do that too, right?
They do. I don't think to the extent that they once did it, but they absolutely do. And that's how so many girls get involved in pageantry as a whole. I feel like NAM is kind of the entry point for so many girls. So it's definitely, they transformed how the pageant industry is and like the people who are involved, which is awesome too.
Yeah, and obviously you had a great experience. Otherwise, like being a very like young, impressionable age and then deciding a few years later to come back and being a title holder. I'd love to know, like, what would you say is the one memory looking back that you're like, wow, pageantry really changed my life at this moment? Was it the time that you won or some time competing in between?
I think it's a little bit of everything. Obviously, pageantry has totally transformed my life, but to get a little more personal, that in 2017, my dad passed away very unexpectedly, and I think pageantry in a lot of ways like saved me. It gave me a purpose, gave me something to work towards when I was like going through so many difficult moments in my life, and I'm so grateful for pageantry for that. And I, especially at that point, I was competing at National American Miss, so I feel like I always like am so like in debt to them because they've changed my life in so many ways. But I think pageantry is such a good outlet for people who are, again, just want to work towards a goal, want to focus on something, and really dedicate their passions to a certain area of their life.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And thank you for sharing. And also my heart goes out to you and all the women because, being on the coaching side now, you just start to see like everybody's going through something, everybody has a story. And I feel like pageantry and pageant land really does get to be an escape in some ways. And it's
Mhm.
not fabricating or it's not like escaping reality completely, but it just allows you to feel that fun and that joy and just feel like you're in like pageant la la land almost, which some of us need and want. And I think we can sometimes get into judgments about like how it should be or how it should look. And I think we need to remember like the bigger picture of what it's about, which is helping women be queens, helping women step into their leadership. And if it's winning pageants, amazing. But if it's just being able to have something that they're able to do outside of work and school and the real hardships of life, like that is the point of it. And so I appreciate you sharing that. And I want you to also, if you don't mind, touching on like what was that like then going into being a title holder, like now actually stepping into that role of leadership. Not that anybody needs the title, but you know how it just becomes like this amplified measure of your impact. Like how did your mission carry forward with that?
Yeah, I think really my whole purpose when I was reigning was more to focus showing girls that your circumstances do not define your success. You know, I came through a lot of hard circumstances at a very young age. I had to grow up a lot faster than a lot of my peers, but I've learned that with hard work and determination, anything is possible. And I really wanted to show other girls that they too can accomplish their wildest dreams if they also have that same mindset. So as a queen, I got to promote that message. I worked closely with an organization that focuses on helping girls through trauma or foster care and just working and being able to just show girls and be that role model that I once needed is was really special and something I will always be grateful for.
Wow, that reminds me of a quote. I literally just shared it in the Queen Collective, and it's at the end of the day, a winner is going to be a winner. And no matter what your circumstances are, no matter what is around you, like you don't become a winner when just when the judges like you, just when you're on stage, just when everything is going right. It's like it's really in the face of hardships and challenges that determines like that you can carry that and you can hold that. And if you're only a queen and a winner when everything is going right and when the crown is on your head, you're always going to be subject to feeling like a loser on the other side when those outer circumstances aren't aligning. And I'll say like I feel like we kind of had a flipped reality. My hardships have definitely started like later in life after turning 30. And now is when I've really had to put that like queen mindset and that queen training to the test to be like, okay, Maria, you've been promoting that you're a queen inside and out, and that nothing determines, your inner winner status. But okay, now it's like really pedal to the metal when it comes to that embodiment. And I'm so grateful for the training I've had in pageantry. Now going through really like real hardships, it's really provided me like that foundation of myself where I can actually put it into practice. And I feel like I can overcome a lot of the hardships a lot quicker and just with more grace because I have pageantry as that foundation. Does that resonate and make sense?
No, I absolutely
Mhm.
agree. I think obviously went through a lot of my challenges at a younger age, but now all the little things that come up in life, I'm like, I can handle this. This is gonna be fine. Like, and I think not only life experiences, but pageantry has prepared me for those moments. But I also think that's what makes like really good pageant title holders great is whenever I get asked the question about like, what is the number one quality you think a title
Mhm.
holder should have?
Great
Almost
question.
always
Mhm.
I say is relatable. You want to have a queen who has gone through hardships and is showing that to be able to relate to them, their story, what their experiences are. Because if you have this perfect queen who can walk on stage and have a great walk, amazing, awesome. But when you can relate to her and see yourself within her and the things she's gone through, I think that just builds such a special bond that really makes a year go from good to great.
And such a great segue too, because the same applies to entrepreneurship, right? It's like if you can only make money and get clients and build your business and empire when everything is going great, that's good. But what about when the storms come? And oftentimes it's like I can tell who's going to be successful in their business and in their brand and in pageantry based on how they handle challenges. And if you hit up a challenge and you make it mean like, oh, I can't do this, I'm gonna fail, and it's not working out for me, and then you pull yourself out, like that's a bigger tell of your winner status or not. But that's a perfect timeline now for us to go into building an app because you did the competitor, you have the title, so natural for so many pageant women to then say, okay, we've experienced it. We see the gaps in the industry. So, Maggie, what made you decide to build the CrownChat app? Was it called CrownChat at first? Like, I'm curious about how it went from idea into creation mode.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I mentioned earlier, took a couple years a break from pageantry during college, just wanted to get through studies. And then after I decided I wanted to recompete. But at that point, I was living in Los Angeles, California, and growing up competing in pageants, I would always spend like hours at the kitchen table with my mom, practicing interview questions, going through stuff. So, I had this moment when I was living in Los Angeles. My mom was in New York, and I was like, how in the world are we going to practice all the time? So then I was starting to sit there and think about it, and I was just starting to really get interested in the tech world, and there was a lot of conversations with AI happening at that point. So started to sit on this idea, and I was like, can I just build like an AI bot that will ask me questions, listen to me, and then give some basic, simple feedback? So when the idea originally came to my head, it was more just like, I'm gonna build this for myself just so I can practice. But as I started like sitting on the idea, thinking about it a little more, I'm like, wait, this is a tool that every pageant girl should really have. Because not only, older girls who maybe don't have a practice partner, but even if moms of younger girls, like, sitting in front of the kitchen table for a long time practicing, especially with other things, other tasks to do, that it's hard to dedicate that much time. So now, parents can just hand their phone to their kid and be like, hey, go do 10 questions. And or a girl who doesn't have a practice partner can go on and just do a couple questions before bed. So this whole idea was just to make practice be able to happen anywhere, anytime, and it never to be a barrier because pageantry, I truly believe, again, has changed my life. So it should be accessible to every woman. And if you can't necessarily do coaching every day of every hour and you don't have a practice partner, this is the great tool to have in those in between moments between coaching calls.
Yeah, and trust me when I say, like, I remember the days where I'd ask my mom and my sister off the cusp, and I tell you, it's the minute you ask them, their mind goes blank. They're like, I have no idea what question I can ask you, or they'll say something crazy. Like immediately they go so political. I'm like, you guys, I'm not gonna be asked questions about that.
Yeah,
Like,
I
give
need
me
an in
some,
between.
but they just don't know, right? So it's like you
Yeah.
kind of need like that encyclopedia in an AI type app. And I would love to hear like when it comes to using AI for pageant prep, because there's so much talk about it. And obviously we're not talking about like use AI to write your answers, use AI to write your introduction, use it for your paperwork and completely lose your individuality. But what would you want to say to the pageant women who are maybe a little bit against or apprehensive when it comes to using AI as a tool and resource for pageant preparation?
I really tried to build this app around the fact that it will help you build confidence. I 100% agree with what your comment about. I think there's a lot of conversation happening in the industry right now about losing individuality. Everyone looks the same, everyone is dressing the same because like AI is doing a lot of it. But CrownChat's mission and goal is to provide you a question to practice, but you need to come up with a response. You need to build your confidence to be able to be comfortable answering any question in the book because I think that's what makes CrownChat so special is yeah, you may get similar questions, but you never like it will ask anything and everything under the sun, which will help you be ready and confident to answer any question you get in the interview room. So really taking the idea of, yes, it is AI powered, but that is not the mission. That is not the focus of it, is just providing this central location where you can build the tools and skills and confidence you need to succeed on pageant day.
So well said. It's almost like saying, I'm against the internet or I'm against phones. It's just like it's a part of our growth. It's a part of the innovation and pageantry, which has just traditionally been a little bit more outdated when it comes to some of our principles and rules and just the overall status of the industry. Like we really should be embracing different things like this to help us evolve and like you said, make it more accessible to everybody. And I also want to emphasize it's not just interview questions. Talk about some of the other features, especially with the new relaunch of it.
Yes, absolutely. So version one was really the main focus was interview questions, and that is still a major part of version two, but there's so many additional tools that I'm really excited about. So we have like basic, like you can do notes, there's different journaling and personal development prompts each week, so you can build, again, not only practicing questions, but also building that confidence in your story and your purpose and your why, but also like a social media planner. We have a platform development tool where you can track community service and improve your platform. And one of my new favorite features is we have this pageant day tool where you can input your schedule. You can put your packing list to make sure you have each item for every part of your schedule. And then on pageant day, it becomes the main purpose of the app on the homepage. So you can quickly check your schedule. You can get notifications when you have upcoming events, and everything is all there. Again, really the focus is to be the number one pageant prep app, your go-to for all things pageant prep related. And this is just one step forward to becoming that.
When I tell you this is so genius, and I wish that I had thought about it, but even if I did, I have absolutely like no ability to make an app. So I got to know, like, what was the actual like hardest part of building it? Was it like the idea or the tech side? Like, talk to me about the process of it.
Definitely the tech side. So, for just a little background on myself, that I went to school for management information systems, got my MBA. So, definitely a little more business focused. I always had interest in tech, but I always felt like there was maybe like one layer further than what I could comprehend. So this idea of building an app was a little intimidating to say the least. But as I started to break it down, I'm like, okay, wait, I can do this. I really started with a prompt to ChatGPT that was like, how do I build an app? And then from there, just completely took off. And definitely the text part was the hardest part for me. That it took me about 6 months to build version one because I was really taking the time to build the fundamentals in the beginning. If I had backgrounds in app development, I think it would be a lot quicker. But building
Mhm.
all those pieces, and then for version two, it took me a lot less time because I built all those fundamentals. And also, there's so many new AI tools out there, which is awesome. But I think what was the scariest part for me was I had no experience building an app. I had barely an experience coding. So really taking the idea from an idea and actually being able to launch it someday by far has been one of my proudest accomplishments because it really shows that, like, again, with hard work and determination, anything is possible and anyone can do this if they put their mind to it.
I think that's such a great analogy for yeah, not even just with app development, but with business and pageants. Oftentimes I see women maybe underestimate what it's actually going to take to start something up that hasn't been made or hasn't been done, or that maybe it's been done, but you haven't done it before. And that's where, again, like we kind of already touched on the conversation, but you've got to be willing to work through the hard times and the learning curves and be able to say like, hey, it took you 6 months to get this built up in the very first time, but then it becomes easier after that. And problems that you had in the very beginning, they don't become problems after. There are new problems and there are growth problems and things like that. But you have to be willing to like learn something new and new skills. Otherwise, how are we going to innovate and how are we going to put new cool ideas like this out on the market, which I think is again genius when it comes to pageant prep and just having it be like pageant prep in your pocket. And one thing, I feel like I'm giving you all the hard questions today, Maggie, but because it technically it is a coaching tool and just something that I've seen in the industry being on both like the pageant coaching side, but also the business coaching side where I work with pageant professionals is this idea that um, I'm just going to say it like it is. Like, oh, like they're stealing clients or like there's not enough clients in the industry and things like that. Did you face any like pushback from like any traditional coaches or the community when it came to the app?
Totally fair. And I really wanted to focus the branding and the wording away from the word coach because I do not think the app replaces coaches in the slightest. I talked to a few coaches before, like about my idea before launching version one. And in every conversation, a lot of the pain points I heard from coaches were I give girls feedback, but they don't practice between this
Mhm.
session one and session two. So then like we're just repeating the same thing because either they don't have a practice partner or they're just like not really sure like what they should be like don't have enough guidance in between our sessions, or two, we're just like a lot. I don't, those table topics, I don't remember if you've ever had them, but just like a box of like questions or like books girls
Mhm.
would get about like, oh, here's some interview questions. People were running out of question ideas. So this was kind of filling, I think, a gap. It's not replacing coaching in the slightest. I think coaches have so much benefit information that it'd be so hard to ever get AI to fully be able to replace that because every pageant system is very different. Every coach has a different coaching technique, and depending on the girl, you need to tweak your technique. So we are so far away from that world. I don't even know if we'll ever be able to get there. But this app, again, is really filling the gap between the coaching sessions that so many girls face.
So important. I shared with you this on our first call where sometimes when a client says to me, like, Maria, can you send me interview questions? Like, I almost want to pull my hair out as if like the 100 question doc isn't enough and like as if it isn't on Google. But I get it's like sometimes they just don't know where to go. And there's only so many times as a coach that I can send and make up new questions. And that's where we need to use all of the resources at our disposal. And I will say, like, the pageant gals listening to this, like, work ethic is unmatched. Like these women want to practice more and they're like, challenge me, give me more. Is there something within the app that kind of you can customize or tailor? Like, my pageant is going to ask me this type of question, like populate more political questions or harder questions or different things like that.
Yeah, so with version two, well, with version one, you could set complexity level and you can also do like a timer because a lot of pageant systems, you really, if you're practicing on-stage question or you're like, hey, I need to make sure every question's under like 30 seconds or something.
Mhm.
So there was always that in version one, but something that's exciting with version two is we have different categories. So you can do general mix, which was what was included in version one, but you can focus on either current event questions, you can do pageant related, platform related, like fun and personal. So all these different categories. And then on top of that, if there's questions that you get you really like, you can star them, or you can add questions to your saved questions bucket. So if your pageant system has like a particular message or platform you know you're going to get a question about, you can add it to there and then just practice those questions in the mix as well. So you can get everything you need related to any type of pageant question you're going to get. You can pick a category and base that accordingly.
Music to my ears, especially the timer feature. Because if you're one of my gals and you've worked with me on interview before, you know that I am such a stickler for the timing of answers. And you've got it's got to make that mark, right? And it's just so simple to like it's less that you can't time it on your own, but it's just to have everything in one place. Where if you have a question and you haven't quite nailed it, it's like, okay, save that to your question folder. Like that's going to become a reoccurring practice for you until you're able to nail it. So this is I'm loving all of this. And while it's so fun and I'm excited to see, because I'm gonna assume that even though we're just in the launch of like version two, there's probably going to be like a version three, a version four. But
Yes.
where do you see the app going in the next like year or two?
So definitely want to continue to figure out like what features girls are leaning into from version 2. So like what opportunity gaps are there still? But I think one thing I would love to dive more into is a little bit more with the pageant coaching realm. So getting coaches on the app so they can send feedback to their girls and have it display as they're practicing. So if you're meeting with a client and you're like, hey, make sure to watch your contact and like the way you're repeating the word like, for example. So that feedback can be displayed before they're interviewed to remind them like, hey, this is what I should be working on, and then have it as they practice. So that's version three or beyond that I'm looking into, but a couple other small things I want to tweak and work on again. Just really make sure this is like the ultimate pageant prep app. So always welcome to feedback. So if anyone starts using it and has some ideas for different features or things they find would helpful, always feel free to reach out, send an email or a message, and that would be appreciated.
Yeah, I love it. You're making it for the community, right?
Yeah. One of the biggest feedback we got from version one was like, hey, I really need to watch my body language, but it's like hard to practice like in the mirror, looking, getting the question at the same time. So one thing I was really excited about was For version 2, you can hit the camera option, so still be on the app and you can see yourself reflected back at you. So you can watch your hand movement, you can watch your eye contact, body language, all of that. And you can also hide the question. So if you don't want to read the question, but just want to listen to it, just like you would in a real interview, all of these things are tools you can customize to make it your interview experience that you need.
You're speaking to the nerdy pageant side, but also like the business side of me. I'm really excited about this. And this is available to women across the world, correct? Like, how can they access and download this?
So it is currently only available on iOS, so iPhone and
Mhm.
iPads, but hopefully someday down the line, Android is also coming. But right now, you can go to the App Store, just type in CrownChat and download it from there.
Amazing. And I believe you'll have to correct me. It's only 15 or $20 a month, correct?
So version 2 is 12.99 unless you were already subscribed and then it was 99.99. Don't worry, your price isn't going up. But I'm going to send a special offer to you, Maria, after you can put in the comments for girls to be able to get a discount on their first month after this.
I
So
love it. And you
the
told me
comments.
this. You told me this too. You were like, no, it's only 12.99. And I keep saying, like, no, it's like 20 or $25. Like, ladies, 12.99 for an
Yeah.
app that you can use like all month long. My phone would be time usage would be so high from this. And what's amazing is that all the pageant gals are going to get a special code to access the CrownChat app, which I cannot recommend enough. If you have an iPhone or iOS, or if you're a mama or mans or someone has it, go download it and use this. This is an incredible resource, a very accessible resource as well. And it's just amazing, like what you can do and how much more you feel like you've got that competitor edge in you when you're training like this. Like this just reminds me of like athletes and sports competitors who would use something like this to track, I don't know, like their macros or their training sessions. Very, very similar to that. But there's lots coming to it. It's exciting, but more exciting is the fact that version 2 is out right now and ladies can go and purchase it. But to kind of like round or bring our time to more of a close, there's going to be more stuff with the pageant gal, Maria and Maggie. So just stay tuned, ladies. But what would you say overall, whether somebody is using the app or whether they're preparing this year or for next year, what is like your biggest piece of advice in takeaway that you want all pageant gals to have?
I think to find stuff you're passionate about, and I think prepare that, or I'm thinking about that not only just in the pageantry world, but also through my Crown Chat journey. We talked a lot about like challenges today and just like, it takes months and months to prepare for something, and you're going to be faced with challenges. But when you are passionate about something, you know your why and your purpose for doing that, all the challenges get so much easier because you have your end destination goal at the end of your route. So, as you're thinking about preparing for a pageant, really sit down and take the time to understand why you want to compete. What are your goals outside of just winning? Like, what do you want to focus on? Because that will make the journey so much easier and so much more exciting as you're working towards your pageant date.
So important. I think that's the very first thing I talk with any client about, even before they become a client, is what is your goal for the competition? Like, what is your North Star that you're working towards? I know we want to
Mhm.
work on interview and runway and platform, but like, what is this
Yeah,
leading towards? And then what is it really about for you outside of the competition? Because if we can't use pageantry to grow ourselves, like we're missing the point here. And that's the point of these tools and resources and apps and coaching is to be the queen of your life at the end of the day.
absolutely. Definitely agree.
Maggie, are you going to be competing again? Last question.
Coming soon. Yeah.
TBD. Well, I'm going to be linking your social media, the CrownChat app, Instagram, the link for our iOS purchasers, and a special code for all of the pageant gals. You can go and get the CrownChat app today and start practicing it, ladies. Right now, this episode is launching in April 2026, and no matter when you're listening to this, pageant season is coming. Pageant day is coming. Do not wait until the last minute to get all of your practice in. Like pageant prep starts right now. Even if you don't have a competition, go download the app because how phenomenal is it? That way, if you decide to compete, and your competition's a couple weeks away, you're already ahead of the game.
Absolutely. Definitely agree. 365 days a year it is set to, so it can help as you're even 12 months away from your next pageant. There's a prep calendar that will help guide you through those steps.
That is the pageant galway, truly. Year round, queen building using the Crown Chat app. Maggie, thank you so much for your time today. I'm so excited for you for Crown Chat. I've been following you for, I think, almost ever since it launched because I was like, this genius is it, or this idea is genius. I need to chat with her about it. And I'm grateful that you got to be on the podcast and to support where you and Crown Chat are going next.
Thank you so much, Maria. It was great having you, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, absolutely. And pageant gals, We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.